Good afternoon, and welcome to this month's Faculty Senate meeting. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to everyone who's joining us virtually. As everyone knows here, 2023 has been an historical year for Medical College of Georgia, and we're well poised to go to greater heights in 2024. To give us the State of the College address, please welcome our Dean, Dr. David Hess.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aurora, our president. And we have a special treat, which will make this hour worthwhile coming here. The speech may not, the talk may not, but I'm introducing the Serotonins, our a cappella student group.
Thank you for that introduction.
From thy humble times of childhood stood your mission clear, changing faces, forms, and features, still your visions here. MCG, our alma mater, we will honor thee. Keep us mindful of thy purpose, bind our loyalty. As we seek to heal and comfort, let us strive to know how to master times of trial and compassion show. MCG, our alma mater, we will honor thee. Keep us mindful of thy purpose, find our loyalty.
Thank you so much, and thank you we booked you 24 hours ago, so thank you. They were going through the halls for Valentine's Day, and we asked them, and they dropped what they were doing, came over here, and for a free lunch they're here. But this is an example of the many talents of our students that go beyond just academic medicine and being great doctors. So most of you know we have one of the oldest medical schools in the country, 13th oldest, 1828. We have a lot of news, probably more news than any other State of the College address, and we have the best introduction we've ever had. So I always show this slide to let you know we're an academic medical center. I think we have the best jobs in the world, because who else gets the missions of clinical care, education, and research and discovery? So this is really exciting. Now, academic medical centers are a state and national treasure. Only two in Georgia. It's kind of us and Grady, Emory, right? That's it. The states that are smaller than us, or about our size, have many more academic medical centers than we have, but they're a national treasure and a state treasure. This is where most medical students are educated, most residents are trained, where most research discoveries are made, where most NIH funding is, and our safety net hospitals. And that's part of the reason they're under threat. They take care of a lot of Medicaid and underinsured patients, and we generally have high costs. So the important thing is, as a famous Catholic nun said, no margin, no mission, right? If your hospital doesn't have a margin, we're in trouble. And that's the situation we were in. But also, I would say more importantly, the margin is not the mission. Our mission is over in those three circles. So the big news is, unless you've been asleep since August, you know that we merged with WellStar. And I want to thank Dr. Keel and Dr. Keen and many others here who helped make this work. It's important to know that MCG is in the name, right? WellStar MCG Health, that's really important. I didn't pick the color purple, but I kind of like the aqua. And it's a member substitution agreement. So they're leasing the hospital and the buildings from the Board of Regents. It's not a sale. They don't own us. They're managing our health system. That's very important. And they put a lot of money into this. Over 10 years, they're going to put 1.1 billion. Some of that is in capital. Some of it's going to be building Columbia County Hospital, which I'll show you in a minute, moving the surgery center of Columbia County to another place. And then they're assuming all this debt. Wouldn't you love to have your debt assumed? And so they're assuming about $300 million of debt. And then importantly, to stabilize us, we get $13 million roughly of mission support that the hospital sends over to us. And we also share in how the operating margin is. So unlike a for-profit hospital, that every dime they make that goes to their shareholders, every dime they make, a portion of it is coming back to MCG to support the academic and educational mission. So very, very important. Now, immediately, within a month, our bond rating, which is non-investment grade B-, went to A+. Now, this is for the health system. The university is already A+. This is for the health system. We had improved contracts with insurers almost on day one. And then our operating margin, I won't say what it is, but it's in the black, which is good. We haven't been in the black that much in the last 5 years. And then we're going to transition to Epic, which we're all excited about, and then we'll have an improved revenue cycle. That's going to take a lot of patience and time, but that should be complete by next October. Now, these are renderings of the Columbia County Hospital. If you go out to exit 190, you're going toward Atlanta, look to your left, and you can probably see some of the construction. I'll show you in the next slide. These final colors have not been decided on, but this is what the hospital is going to look like. And this is really important because the reason we got this CO1 is we're going to do some training of residents and medical students there. Here's what apparently the last pictures we have of the hospital foundation in progress. You can see they're moving dirt. So this is great. You know, we were caught up in litigation for over 7 years with this project. So now we're going to have an additional hospital to the one downtown. Now, this is really important. One of the problems we had compared to our peers, we had a very small health system, just about $1 billion, whereas VCU, UAB, UNC, Mississippi, and Florida were all larger than we were. And we didn't have a very large platform. And because you don't have a very large platform, you're not generating much revenue to help the medical school. Almost every academic medical center gets funding from the hospital. That's how you make it, right? We get it a lot on state appropriations, some philanthropy, but we get some from the hospital. That was really in danger. So with Wellstar, and now we moved up to between 6 and 7 billion. I don't know exactly where that figure was, but Hank Cap said, say 6+ billion. So that's big. So all of a sudden, August 29th, look how big we are. Now, it's true that this is spread over, 11 hospitals in Georgia, but it's a big improvement over where we were. Most of the chairs who have been here, clinical chairs, for the last 7 years, and Stephen Myler knows how much anguish we've been through and how much sleep we've lost, waking up in 3 in the morning worried about things. Now, the good news is that Joint Operating Committee makes the decisions for new hires and new programs. And that's split 50-50, all right? And I see Phil Cool here. He's actually on the Wellstar side, but we know he's really on our side too, right? So he's got split loyalties. And then here are the rest of the people. And I think Natasha Savage came in, Beverly Bella, Alan and Jason are from Wellstar, but I think, and I don't know if Charlie Howell's here, he's one of ours. I think, Phil, correct me if I'm wrong, we've have almost unanimity on every decision we've made. So we've really come to agreement. And then lastly, this guy here in Wellstar Purpose, Ralph Turner, he would be here today, but he's been called to Atlanta because he has another job, but he's our current president, all right? And he's been a joy to work with. The other big thing about this Wellstar agreement is that we're gonna have a regional campus in Atlanta. I think Dr. Keel knows and prior presidents know that we've always coveted a foothold in Atlanta. Now we're gonna have it hopefully in 2025. We already have 16 students rotating there this year. And since 2017, we've had about 16 to 17 students rotating there. So we're gonna go and we're gonna talk to Lewis Lovett in a little bit about how things are going there. We have to get LCME approval, but the document is about 95% completed. I just talked to Val Akupov yesterday. So this should happen, and we'll have a formal regional campus in Atlanta. And there's a lot of things we can do academically with that campus. besides just a 2-year campus. And Wellstar has a big emphasis on digital health. They pride themselves in having a digital operating model. The other big advantage of this merger is that we have a very strong MCG Center for Telehealth. And this slide here shows all the rural hospitals. Now, Matt Lyon, I don't know if Matt here, he directs our MCG Center for Telehealth. And there's Telestro, Tele-OBs coming, Tele-ICU, Tele-ED. But what's importantly, when we do telehealth, we educate our students on both sides, on delivering telehealth and being on the other side, as you'll see in an upcoming slide. So this is extremely important. And we have this commitment to rural Georgia, which I always say is inviolate. No merger is ever going to take our concern away from rural Georgia, because rural Georgia has some of the worst health measures. And that's a theme I'm going to come back to. What state in the country is first in business? Georgia. They're a laureate. Thank you. And there's hardly any measure that Georgia is below 40. Whether, as you're going to see, everything I come up with, every health measure, every doctor per capita, resident per capita is going to be 40 and below. And that's a recurrent theme. Now, the other important thing is telehealth cuts across the medical school and the hospital. So here's Matt Lyon and Lauren Hopkins. One of the things we know, particularly for those of us who work in the ER or even work in the hospital is always full, right? Phil, you always worry about this every day. How many beds do we have? Richard Schwartz in the ED, he's got to manage all these problems with throughput. Well, one of the ways around this is to actually create a hospital in the home. All right, so hospital in the home, a virtual hospital where you send paramedics out, nurses out, and then do monitoring and keep people out of the home. Well, which program do you think was first in Georgia? Our program. So we just recently got approval. Wellstar MCG Health is the first health system approved for hospital in the home. So just think, if any of you are scared of being in the hospital and you get sick, you may be able to stay home in our virtual hospital. It's not quite ready, so don't get sick for a few months. Now, another thing, as I said, we always involve our medical students in everything we're doing. So here's a great example of Kyle Burkhardt. He's a family medicine, rotating in family medicine at Wills Memorial. Now, where's Wills Memorial? I know some of you don't know Georgia geography, so I'm always going to show you the map. It's halfway to Athens, and it's right about there. And we have a telemedicine link, and he's actually presenting to Todd Burbacher, one of our emergency medicine physicians here. So it goes both ways. So this is an example where we're putting medical students and then residents in the rural hospitals to see both sides of the telemedicine equation. Now, you just heard the serotonins, right? And this is our class of 2027, and we're going to go to them. They were shown for about a minute there in the Harrison Commons. We're going to go back to them. But we really have not just talented students musically, but we have talented students in all measures. This is their MCAT score, which may not mean a lot to you. Women are outnumbering men. That's a national trend, and it's a trend going on here. But we have about a quarter of our students from underserved counties in Georgia. And that's going to be important when I show you some of these maps where we have such physician shortages. And about a fifth of the students are underrepresented minorities. But excellent grade point averages. It's a very competitive medical school. We have 264 students this year. We're the 8th or 9th largest medical school in the country, depending on how you count. And wait till you see where we're going next. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to take this map and we are going to go around the state. You're going to visit our regional campuses. Some of the chairs who have gone out, Dr. Switzer was telling me this week how valuable it was to go out and visit a regional campus. A lot of you chairs have been there. If you ever want to go to visit a regional campus, just call the campus dean and they'll welcome you. It's nothing like seeing a regional campus and the involvement we have with the community engagement. So let's hit it and go to Wellstar. Now we got a great IT service here, which will hopefully get us to Wellstar. There we go. Yep. And there is the Lewis Lovett. So Lewis is the DIO and runs our medical student program. He's been working with us for at least since 2015 in our medical student. So Lewis, I know you got another meeting to go to, but why don't you just greet the audience here and tell us what's going on briefly at Wellstar.
Absolutely, Dr. Hess. Thank you for this opportunity to participate in this wonderful event. Hello, everyone. As Dr. has said, I'm Louis Lovett. I've been with Wellstar for going on 12 years, and I've been in academia all my professional life. I have a clinical appointment with Medical College of Georgia, which I'm very proud of, and I have worked with the students from the Medical College of Georgia for close to 30 years. I'm very happy to say that with a lot of hard work and collaboration from my colleagues at the medical college, we now have in our for third year students at Kennestone Hospital, 16 who are rotating in the core rotations. I'm also very proud to say that we have 16 M4s rotating who rotated last year as M3s. Many of the M4s are rotating in elective rotations and also rotations such as emergency medicine, where we have a residency. So they're actually doing what we call an audition rotation because they're interested in the program. So more to come, but we're very excited about the students that we have. And eventually, I think we would like to also expand the opportunity to have students at some of our other teaching facilities. So more to come on that. And again, Dr. Hess, thank you.
Yeah, we love to hear expansion. We love to hear that term. And you have about 260 residency slots that our students can go into after medical school?
Correct.
And so that's really important. So Louis, thank you very much. Another thing to know about Louis, don't you have a second home? Is it in Tuscany or Umbria?
It's in Umbria. So I'm of Italian origin. I lived there for 12 years. All my family is from there. So Dr. Hess and I, we exchange notes every once in a while. So, and I've also working with the campus in Montepulciano, Tuscany, and who that group has come to visit Wellstar already and took a tour. And maybe down the road, we can kind of look at that and see what options we might have to collaborate with them.
Great. I hear a campus in Italy, Dr. Keel, but
Yep.
one step at a time.
Someone's
Thank you
gotta
very
do
much,
it.
Louis. I appreciate it. We'll see. We're going to go now to our Harrison Commons, where you briefly saw our class of 2027. You guys are mostly class of 2027, right? Good. So they were cheering you. There you go. So that's some of our faculty. It's hard to tell our faculty, and there's Doug Patton. Doug is the Southwest Campus Dean, but he's up here because he's also one of our head cheerleaders. And you got Catherine Martin, Michelle Krupp. You got raise your hand, Michelle. We're going to show a picture of you later. We got Shilpa Brown. You're kind of behind the camera. Jennifer Tucker. All right, good. Hello. What do you guys have to say? Any comments?
Jags.
Did you hear that? He said, "Go
No.
Jags."
Go Dr. Keel's smiling. All right. Well, thank you very
He
much.
wants a scholarship for that.
This is where the students, if you don't know, often have their lectures. We used to say it the first 2 years, but now our curriculum is 18 months. This is where they have the preclinical curriculum. As you hear, he compressed our medical school, the core curriculum to 3 years. So thank you very much. And thank you for saying one MCG too. All right. Bye-bye. And I'm sorry, Nicole, I missed you. You were almost behind the sign. Thanks, Nicole. All right. All right, now we're going to go to Athens. I got to remember the alphabet here. All right. There they go.
Hey,
So
David, can you hear
Athens,
us?
yeah, we can hear you. That's Shelley Nuss, our campus dean.
Hi there. Thanks, Kelly. You can see we've got a great turnout of students and our faculty and staff, and we're just, so pleased to be here in Athens and part of this event. And so I just want to say thank you all to all you do to help support us. And we're just, blessed to have everybody here. We have amazing students, as you said, amazing faculty and staff, and we're educating that physician for the 21st century, right, students? Right. All right, good. Well, listen, just a couple of highlights. So, I think everyone knows, but the campus was recognized this year by the group on regional medical campuses for the Shining Star Award for our community population health curriculum. So congratulations to all of you. And we've got our faculty kind of staff recognition awards ceremony coming up next a couple of weeks, actually, and wine and cheese and lots of other spring events. So we're really busy here. We got lots of testing going on today. I wish we had all our students. We're up to 230 here and we'll have 240 by the fall. So as you said, doing lots here to keep pushing that physician shortage down. As you know, we're always in a crisis, as you said. So I'll just pause there and again and say thank you, and we love the Seratones and glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you all, Athens. We appreciate it. Thanks, Shelley. Okay, let's go to Albany. Yeah. And Michael Woner's there. Thank you, Michael. And look what they say. Welcome to MCG South Best Campus. Now, there's a lot of rivalry between these deans and campuses. So I think the Southeast is going to be.
Southwest is the
they say
best.
that. I know.
Southwest.
All right. So Ms. Morton was asking about our Albany campus. Here it is. And we have room to expand there. We got a congressionally directed funding this year of over $2 million to develop medical capacity to help with pipeline programs, medical schools, residencies. So that's a real big push. There's a lot of interest in the Southwest because they have some of the worst health measures in the country. And I can't help by calling out Dr. Weintraub because he's from Albany, Georgia. Neil, just raise your hand. He's proudly from Albany, Georgia. So we don't have a lot of faculty from Albany, Georgia, but we want more. So students, thank you very much. I hope they fed you. It looks like they did. Okay. All right, let's go to Brunswick. All right.
Here we are.
All right. So pick out our dean, Dr. Rentz. He's part of Pick
Yes.
Out.
Yes, sir. Welcome to Southeast Brunswick campus, where it's always sunny, even when it's overcast. We're having a lot of fun. The students are working hard, and everything is going well. We're very proud to be a part of the growing Southeast Savannah campus, and we're very proud to be a part of MCG.
Thank you, Wayne, and thank you, students. We're going to move on, and they're starting a new GME program there, which is really important in internal medicine. So enjoy the marshes of Glen, all right?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, B, what's after B? Rome.
Hello, Dr.
Rome,
Hess.
Rome and Dalton, there's Dr. Dixon Freeman. He does not have sunglasses on, and this was the campus that really started the longitudinal integrated clerkship, which would take a while to explain, but they started that. And I think all those pictures, those glamour photos, you can see how attractive our students are too. Are all students that are stayed in Georgia, or yes?
The ones in this room are the ones that are currently in Georgia, either in training or practice. But
Isn't
we
that
have
great?
the rest of the office is covered with all of our students, and we're proud of it.
Yeah. Well, thank you all, and it's an exciting place. Rome and Dalton, they cover both, the Rome area and the Dalton area. Dixon spends a lot of time at both places, but particularly in Dalton. He's an OBGYN by training. He's a DIO, which means a GME director. So he's got great experience. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Dr. Hess.
All right. So that was Rome and Dalton. That's the northwest part of the state. There's going to be a quiz later. And Dalton is known for being what? God, you guys, you're so smart. Carpet capital of the world. All right. Next, Savannah, right? All right. So we're going to talk more about Savannah later. This is the campus that's at Candler Hospital. And St. Joe's Candler has been a strong supporter of MCG. Do you guys like Savannah? Yep. Is that my favorite? Is that my favorite sister there?
One for all and all for one.
All right.
Mr. Pat joined us today.
She's famous. She runs the indigent clinic, the Good Samaritan Clinic there, and she's famous and a great supporter and a vocal supporter of MCG and the Savannah campus. So we're going to hear more about this. This campus has done so well, we're going to expand it and go to 4 years there in July. Okay, thanks a lot. And unless we start a new campus, that's it, right? So it's just a good time to give an award to Kelly Braun. We always give a professionalism award. Now, Kelly right now is at 35,000 feet, probably over the Western United States. She's going to Las Vegas because it's, you know, we scheduled this thing during President's Weekend. We somehow forgot that kids are off Friday and Monday. So a lot of faculty take off, but I walked over to her and gave her an award. She was really happy to get it. She runs a great admissions committee. Her nickname is the Kirby Smart of MCG because she's such a good recruiter, and there's so much demand for medical school slots. But thank you, Kelly. And Scott Barman is here, who's a director. Scott, because I got her picture, you don't have to come up and take the award for her. You know, so raise your hand. Scott does a great job. And he's a New York Jet fan, so really, he needs a lot of sympathy. You already saw some of these people. Lynn Cool, who is the better half of Phil, or, you know, is in the back. She has taken over the role of really helping our first year students. You know, our pre-clerkship curriculum is 18 months. I hear you're going to class every day, Lynn. So thank you very much. Michelle Krupp, who came to us from Iowa. She was in that room briefly. She's our Associate Dean for Faculty Development. And Leela Stallworth, who's a well-known pediatrician here, has taken over career advising. What's career advising? You know, how do you know if you want to become like Jim St. Louis and be a CT surgeon, or if you want to be a cardiologist like Neil Weintraub, or if you want to be a, you know, interventional vascular person like Dr. Jordan? This is where they help you, and they help you with your electives. So it's really, really critical to have strong career advising. We just went through an LCME visit. We don't know the results. That's Michael Brand to the left, smiling. That's Ashley Saucier, who did a ton of work. Me, who did almost nothing. Andrea Thomas, who did a ton of work. And Ruchi Patel. And Ruchi and Ashley really kind of ran this. Ruchi kind of ran the preclinical side and Ashley the clinical side. But they worked tirelessly on this self-study. This takes about 12 to 18 months to prepare for this visit. I won't even tell you how long the DCI was. Thousands of pages. And the surveyors actually read it, which is disturbing. So we completely changed our curriculum. We have a 3-year medical school. There's probably about 20, maybe 24 medical schools in the country that have a 3-year medical school. But ours is medical school plus because it offers a lot of options. So the option we hear the most about is the 3+ option where it's PGY1, where after the 3rd year of medical school, they enter residency. So they're done after 3 years. The other ones are residency prep. This is what most students do. This is where their 4th year, they focus on the residency they're going to go into. They can get a dual degree, an MD, MBA, or an MPH, or they can focus on research, and I'll come back to this. Now, this is the bad news. Georgia ranks 40th in the country in number of primary care physicians, 41st in primary care physicians per capita. That's because the state has grown so much, we just haven't come up with the number of physicians. And all these counties which are blue or yellow are short. So there's hardly any place that has enough physicians. And even worse, if you actually look at the Georgia Board for Healthcare Workforce, there's 9 counties that have no physicians at all, 18 counties with no family medicine physicians, 40 counties with no internists, 65 counties with no pediatricians, 80 counties with no OBGYN. It's getting worse. 80 counties with no general surgeons, and 73 counties with no emergency medicine, 90 counties with no psychiatrists. And sorry, Steph, I don't know the anesthesiology data because it's not kept, but I'm sure it's low. So we have a huge shortage of all these physicians. And all these groups here are categorized as primary care physicians, broadly defined, but that's how the Georgia Board for Healthcare Workforce. And this is going to become important in a succeeding slide. So to address this problem, we developed this program, the Peach State Scholars, where we got a gift from Centene, and the state matched it. I think we have an endowment now Eileen, of over 42 million plus an expendable fund. So $42 million of scholarship money's been raised to pay the tuition of students who graduate in 3 years, agree to do their residency in Georgia, and then practice in an underserved area, which is almost all of Georgia, all right, in a primary care, one of those primary care specialties. So this is the cohort we just admitted this year. There's 9. We couldn't admit a big cohort yet because we had to build the endowment up. And then the stock market went down, so the endowment wasn't paying out. So we have to kind of titrate. Now this year, we probably have enough for maybe 15 to Mike, 20 students. Is that what I heard? So, and this is the first year class 3 years ago. These are students that entered this, graduated in 3 years, and are all doing a primary care residency as defined by the Georgia board here at MCG. So we keep the students here at MCG, then they're going to go out and have to serve for 2 years, but they get 2 years of tuition paid for out of this endowment. So an exciting program and relatively unique. And I mentioned Savannah. So the big news, so there's a lot of big news. One was Wellstar. Here's another piece of big news. And this is the 4-year campus. Now, I just told you there's 3-year medical school, and most of them stay 4 years in Savannah. Now, why Savannah? St. Joe's Candler has been a great partner. And right across the street from there is the Armstrong campus of Georgia Southern University, which had some space. So the Waters College of Health Profession, which was actually partially endowed by our former regent, Don Waters, had some extra space. So we're using this for some simulation and also some lecture halls, but mostly for an anatomy room because we have to teach anatomy. And so these renovations only cost $1.7 million. This is really a bargain. And our founding dean is Elizabeth Gray, and she's been on our clinical campus for 3 or 4 years. And then Philomi Powell, who most of you know from here, Dr. Loka Schwartz sweat some tears, but I keep telling her she's still in your department. This is perfect for Philomi because she grew up in, is it Bluffton? I always get the B's mixed up. I think it's Bluffton, Georgia. If she's here, she's going to correct me. But she's from that area, so this was a, pardon? Where? Beaufort, that's it. It's one of the B's. Sorry, that's why Dr. Lokacher. Beaufort, which is a little bit further from Savannah. Right, Beaufort, Georgia. Thank you. Sorry, Philomi, if you're listening. I finally got it right. I won't forget it. But she's down there and she's running our pre-clerkship program. And she's a star because she helped develop our 3+ curriculum here. So we get that knowledge transferred down to Savannah. And then again, Paul Hinchy, the longest reigning, continuously reigning CEO, and Julia Michael, an MCG graduate, the CMO, have been very, very supportive. And as I said, St. Joe's Candler is a 2-hospital system. St. Joe's is right across the street from the Armstrong campus. So we'll have 40 students there in July. This is probably the fastest rollout of a campus, I would guess. I'm not going to say in the history of American medicine, but it's got to be in the top 5. It's awfully fast. So fast and furious. Everybody's contributing. We're hiring people. We've got a lot of people already hired. We're going to hire more. And I want to ask Dr. Keel to come up, who's been critical to our 3+ program, getting it funded, and all the hard work he does at the state. And thank you for our Savannah campus, because you played a role, big role in that. And I'm going to ask you to come up. And then we're going to get the photographer here. Thank you, Dr. Keel. Let me just shake your hand. Thank you. And we hate to see Dr. Keel go, but he's really gone out with a bang with all the things he's done in the last year. I mean, we couldn't have done the Wellstar merger, without him. So thank you, Dr. Keel. Now, you've probably heard the news, other news you've heard. On January 10th, Governor Kemp announced that the partnership campus he just saw in Athens would be an independent medical school. But they've been with us for 14 years. And as you saw, there's a big doctor shortage in Georgia. And so the state of Georgia was the largest state with only one public medical school. So it was felt there needed to be another one. All right? So they're going to form a new medical school, but I'll tell you some things that's good for them, good for the state, and it's good for us, as I'll show you. So we called the LCME because they were coming to visit us, and we said, maybe it's not a good idea for them to hear from the news. Maybe they should hear it from us. So we consulted them because we also had to determine what we were doing with students currently applying. It'd be very, very confusing, hit us on the news. By the way, this was approved by the Board of Regents on the 13th this week, so this will happen. So the important thing to remember, students admitted to the medical partnership must remain MCG students until graduation. So all of them admitted this year and next year will be our students, okay? UGA will need to apply as a new independent medical school, which they're starting to work on now. Earliest inaugural class will be the fall of 27 or fiscal year 28, okay? We will continue to matriculate 60 students to the medical partnership in Athens until they receive accreditation, okay? Now this is the important part. With that Savannah campus, we go up to 304 first-year students. And Nikki, we've been checking if that's the 5th or 6th or 4th largest medical school in the country. It doesn't matter, it's just real big, right? And we're gonna stay real big because we have a doctor shortage in Georgia. If we don't stay big, and Athens goes to 60 and 72 and 120, and we decline the net, there's no net gain. So we have to backfill and they have to grow to get more net doctors. So I'll quickly depict this on this stacked bar graph and get dizzy looking at this. It really takes a while to explain, but I'll show you quickly. I may, not surprisingly, the partnership campus is red. So as Shelley said, this year, they'll have a full complement of 240. They have 60 students per year times 4 is 240, all right? But we're starting Savannah this year at 40, and then that'll go up to 80, 120, 160, maybe more, but 160. So we think that Athens will admit their first class July 27, fiscal year 28, all right? Which means when they go up, we will go up here and backfill the campus here in Augusta or potentially Savannah. And, thanks to support from the administration, we're identifying space now. We think we can do this. We're gonna have to expand our faculty, but we think we can do this. So we're not gonna lose, Augusta's not gonna lose anything. In fact, there'll probably be more students in Augusta. Don't forget our regional campuses help the clinical rotations. And importantly, we have WellStar coming on, and you heard Lewis love it. I didn't even prompt them. They want to put our medical students in other WellStar hospitals besides Kennestone. So now we're going to talk about new department chairs. And Dr. William, it's really hard to pronounce his name, Jordan. Is that, well, where I came from in New Jersey, we said Jordan, but this is Jordan. So make sure you call him William Jordan, Dr. Jordan. But he's done a terrific job. He came to us from Emory. Look at all the people we've recruited. And I see Dave Zabel already there, came down from Delaware, right? Christiana Hospital System. And you're still talking to each other, which is a good sign. But we've been looking for a plastic surgery chief for quite a few years. He's also hired Dr. Daniel Milgram, who was at the Good Sign at the resident student meeting on the 5th. Dr. Superno is a trauma surgeon. Dr. El Shazli, vascular surgeon. Angela Lynn, I think, just started a transplant surgeon. So are there any more? That's all we could fit on this. It's a lot of recruiting since you just started in July. So you're going to keep up one a month? All right, keep going one a month. So we really do appreciate you being here. Great job, and surgery's in good hands. So, one of the last, second to last, the penultimate point I'm going to make is the importance of NIH funding. Some people ask, why is it important? Well, it provides more research opportunities for students. It has a halo effect for clinical programs. So if you have NIH funding, and particularly if you're doing clinical trials, it attracts patients. There's good data that every dollar of NIH funding results in $2.64 to the local economy. And most of that money is in personnel. So you're hiring more people. You're bringing more people to Augusta. You're growing Augusta. We want to grow Augusta, just not as big as Atlanta. It has an indirect rate of 54%. So every dollar you get 54 cents to hire other researchers, right? And to do more startup packages. Most new drugs approved by the FDA in the last 20 years have come from NIH funding to academic medical centers. Pharmaceutical companies, they don't develop new things anymore. They usually get it, license it from academic medical centers who have had NIH funding. And then it gives you an enrichment by giving you this culture of discovery, which is extremely important. And thank you, many of you are NIH funded here, and you know how competitive it is to get NIH funded. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It's extremely competitive. Now, importantly, we have a research fair, and here's Brittany Ange, who's done a terrific job as the director of our research. I like to brag on Brittany. She's a Lakeside High School graduate of UGA, and she's done a great job getting these students opportunities. So here's kind of what we call speed dating. We have posters up. Here's some faculty, and we have the students come by their posters. There's Vincent Robinson demonstrating with a pointer. This was one of my favorite pictures. And we get the students to come up and match up. You know, day after I went there, I had a student in my lab the next day. Now, they weren't in class, sorry, Mike, but but they were in the lab and they had great enthusiasm. Now, look at this. What do you notice about this graph? It's been pretty flat over many years. On the bottom is in our NIH funding, our rank by Blue Ridge Institute of Medical Research ranking. You know, we get up to 66 now and then we fall back. But this year, we had a pretty good bump, a 17% bump, one of the largest bumps in our history. But the thing about NIH funding, it's, you know, I love Jim Collins' metaphors. The flywheel really comes into play here. You know, to push that flywheel to get it going, it's not one big thing. It's not one big grant. It's just putting your nose to the grindstone and recruiting good people, getting good research space. We're going to talk about that, and just pushing every day until suddenly that flywheel starts moving by its own momentum, just picks up speed, and it becomes self-perpetuating. That's what schools that have really high NIH funding have done. They've done it gradually over years. Now, we got a good start, but we don't want to relapse, so we want to continue it up. Now, why do we go up? And I'll get to that in a minute, but I also want to show you how productive our faculty are. All right, this is a regression line from NIH funding to the number of medical school faculty. And MCG ranks 2 out of 49 in NIH funding for medical schools with less than 700 faculty. So if you look at our size of faculty, we're only behind Tulane, right? And if you look at less than 1,000 faculty, we're doing pretty darn well. So our faculty, you all punch above your weight. So give you a hand, all the NIH funded researchers who put in grants. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Just keep it up because we're going to continue to grow. Here's another thing we did. This is recent data that Nikki Erickson in my office did. We actually looked at number of faculty per students, okay, and NIH funding. Now, we have less than 1 faculty member per student. Now, somebody would wonder, the students are going to wonder, well, at Vanderbilt, do I have 7 faculty teaching me per student? It's not exactly right like that. We have enough educational faculty. What Vanderbilt and these other schools have, they have a lot of research faculty who are putting in NIH grants. That's why this is the way it is. So we got to get our faculty numbers up, and then we'll be as good as these people, if not better, because we punch above our weight. So this is a really important number to see. Our faculty to student ratio. One of the things, we have a really big class, but we need more faculty. We need more research faculty. And Dr. Keel has agreed to, thank you, Dr. Keel, an external advisory committee for research. We're going to hire some experts, bring them in, look at our, Dr. Keel and Russell Keene and many people and many of our alumni, many of the friends of MCG have really been pushing the legislature, the governor, et cetera, for a new translational science building, 150,000 square feet. Eric, hang in there, it's coming. All of you people, all right, Dr. Siani, hang in there, it's coming. It's coming. We just don't exactly know when it's coming, but people are pushing really hard. And that'll go where the pavilions are. Those pavilions, which some of you were in, that were built in the 50s, they're going to be demolished, and this pavilion, this research building will go up there. We need wet and we need dry researchers. Wet researchers are ones that work with animals and labs. Dry researchers are people that work in the GPI clinical trials. So Ben, we got to recruit. And we also are looking at establishing a Department of Biomedical Informatics. We have a consultant coming from Emory who leads that department in April to consult with us. And again, to show you again, if you look at the universities above us, how many more faculty they have, particularly clinical faculty, not just not basic science, but mostly clinical faculty, how short we are. Now, one of the reasons we've advanced is I see Klaus, Lay, and Lynn told me she's a little bit under the weather, but thank you. Klaus, just raise your hand. I think most people see you in the front row. Klaus and Lynn, who said you can't root to Augusta? We recruited them from La Jolla Institute of Immunology. And I remember that Zoom interview I did with you, Klaus, and it looked like there was water behind your house. And I said, that's a really nice background. And you think you told me, no, that's really the Pacific Ocean. So I was a little bit it was winter here, and I said, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be tough." But you've done a great job. But talk about a recruiting machine. They've recruited all these faculty, and they're all young stars. This Hossam is not here yet, but they've recruited 6 young stars. I don't know if you hear, but this is unbelievable, and they're going to be a great Institute of Immunology for Georgia. So that's fast recruiting. We just got to keep up with the space for them. But these people are all stars. You know, look at their papers. They're all going to be stars. And we got to build here because they're all eventually going to be NIH funded, and they're going to move that flywheel. Remember that flywheel? This is what's going to move the flywheel. More moves like this, not a single event. This won't do it by itself, but in combination with other events, this will do it. There's some other research. If I was going to cover all your research, I would be here all afternoon. I can't. These are just some of the highlights we came up with to thank you all that you're doing. Dr. Sullivan can't be here. She's at another meeting. She's our graduate school dean. Hypertension is a huge problem in this area, right? This is the hypertension belt, the stroke belt. Hypertension is one of the biggest killers in the world. And it actually affects women, surprisingly, as much or more than men at certain age groups. So Jennifer Sullivan has got this ROAR grant, Rural Obese at Risk, and it's a combination of training, education, and then projects here and at 2 other universities. And here are some of you, some of the people participating here. So this is a great, it's called this a U grant, and this is 5 years, $1.5 million a year. So this is a big grant. So this is another thing that contributed to our rise. Now, one of the problems they said is Georgia is ranked #1 in the country for business. And we rank below 40 in almost every health measure you look at. And most of that are in these green counties. Now, green is often thought of being good. In this Robert Wood Johnson map, the greener you are, the more unhealthy you are. I didn't pick the colors, but that's how they come out. So if you look at the colors here, this is very green. And look at the Southwest campus in here. By the way, folks, this is Richmond County. And it cuts right down here. And this is the stroke belt, the amputation belt, I think, Dr. Annex, everything bad it's the belt of. And, you know, to address that, we have this clinical translational science project working with Georgia State, involving the FQHCs to address the healthcare needs, because it's not just doctors. So if you look at your health outcomes, what % of your health outcomes do you think is related to your doctor? Take a guess, Russell. Just take a guess. I'm going to pick on Russell Keene because he's smart. No, it's only 20%. So you thought it was better. You probably have a good doctor. But I'm sorry to say that it's only 20%. So much is where you live. Zip code, you know, is more important than genetic code. It's where you live. The doctor and the access is important, but we get all the doctors we want. If we don't address these health disparities, we're not going to necessarily improve the health of Georgia in these areas. So keep that in mind, but we're approaching that. I saw Christy Ledford, and Christy Ledford's here. Christy has done a great job working on our CTSA project with developing a unique model of community engagement. You know, usually, and I'm guilty of this, when we design a research project, we design it and then we tell the community what we're doing. And the community almost has no participation. And then it's not surprising we can't recruit and we can't retain subjects. Well, Christy, with the PCORI grant, developed this, and she's got all the acronyms in the world, and you can have a quiz and try to remember all these acronyms. I always tease her. But CRANE is the Co-Reacher Activation Network. It's the only one you have to know. And what happens on this is that she goes out to the community and engages the community, so they pick the research topic. Like, we may think it's high blood pressure, they may think it's gun violence, or they may think it's food insecurity. And then they develop a project with researchers and academicians. So she's doing this very nicely with Georgia State. They got a good project, and we're gonna hopefully do a randomized trial, a cluster randomized study to prove that this works. That's the plan for the next application. So thank you very much, Christy, and to show Tina Baggett the community engagement we're doing, right? They get a nod, good, that's important. And you know, getting near the end here, but one of the problems that almost everybody's had that's trying to do clinical research is getting any information out of our EMR. It's been nearly impossible, and people have given up. But the good news is we had a great call we had about 15 people on the call. I know Brian was on, a number of you were on it yesterday, with Wellstar and Hank Capps and some of their data analysts about how we can interrogate the new Epic, because the Epic will have, they have millions of patients in Epic. Some have been on Epic for 10 years, and then we're going to be able to dump our data into their data. So we'll have this great database to work through. And, using natural language processing, all sorts of measures of AI and data science, we can actually find out a lot about people's health and do predictive analytics of things that may clue us into what causes disease. All that is in the EMR, and it's been wasted. That's why we need a health informatics division and a biomedical informatics department, because this will be open to us soon, and this has been completely closed to us because of our problems with our EMR. So this is really exciting. Now, it gives me great sorrow, almost to the point of tears, to give this next plaque out, because Mark Hamrick will be leaving us, but I want to give Mark Hamrick, our Senior Associate Dean for Research and MCG. I couldn't have asked for a better. Hey, you did. You have a different tie. Mark even gave me a pair of his shoes one day. He's been a great. I couldn't have a better Senior Associate Dean. So
It's a lot of fun.
I know.
Thank you so
All right.
much.
All right. We got to get your
Been a
picture
great
taken.
honor.
I know. He doesn't really want this attention, but we got to give it to him. All right. Thank you. No, he's been fantastic. And I'm going to end on GME, and I see Natasha Savage and Shelley Nuss is on. They've been really experts in trying to get white papers together. So what did I tell you? If you ever ask a question about health in Georgia, it's 40 or below. And here's another unfortunate example of it. So we rank 40th in the country in GME or resident slots per capita. Now, you can blame a lot of this on the Balanced Budget Act in 1996, where they basically froze your spots, and most of the population lived in New York. So most of the GME slots are in the Northeast. And other states have had to actually put in state money or do other programs to try to increase their GME slots, but it's been difficult. So you're ranked 40th. That's no one's fault here. This is something that was done to us. But the good news is, and this is really good news, it's nice to see something under 20 in health. So we do a really good job in retaining students who come to undergraduate medical education in Georgia. We rank 17th in the country. So MCG students, listen, and I pray you guys stay in Georgia after this, right? We don't want to lose your musical talent either. We do really well. And if you look at from public UME, from our medical school, and the partnership came, it's 16. So we do a really good job of getting students to stick. It's something we're in the top 20 in health. And if you look at physicians retained from GME, we're 16. But what's really exciting, if you do your medical school in GME in Georgia, the chance of you staying here long-term is 75%. And that ranks very high in the state. So if you guys do your residency in Georgia, not going to twist your arm, you're more likely to stay here. But think about that. So Georgia, the good news is Georgia retains medical students and residents very, very well. That's the good news. So if we can get more residency slots, we're likely to keep more of them in Georgia and beat the national average. But we got to get that number down to 30. I know Dr. Keel's been working on that for us after a nice white paper by Natasha. Raise your hand. And you're going to see Natasha in this next slide with Michael Groves. I don't know if Michael's here. Allegra, Sean, and Nicole, they're a great GME office. This, to me, is one of the hardest jobs in academic medicine, is running a GME office, because you have 575 residents and the fellows and 65 training programs. And you get surveyed all the time. And we live in the survey culture. And so you're always worried about your surveys. But they do a great job. And I'm just going to go down to the bottom quickly to say that while there is a national cap in the Consolidated Appropriations Act, I think it was in 2021, the federal government generously, I say that facetiously, allowed funding of 1,000 more positions over 5 years for GME. Now that's a drop in the bucket, because that's only 200 a year. But to Natasha and the program's efforts here, surgery, OBGYN, and psychiatry, we actually got some of those positions right here. Now we have to get permission from the ACGME to increase our OBGYN program allowance. And we're trying this year in psychiatry. So this is really good news. We're making, some efforts, but it's still a long way to go. So lastly, this is always the last slide I show every year because I'm a Jim Collins fan, is the hedgehog concept. And I think we're closer to this year we've ever been. And that's kind of a statewide academic clinical regional campus system. We're all over the state. We now have a strong hub in Atlanta with Wellstar. We have great relationships with our other campuses. Those are not mergers of us, but they're affiliations that are strong. They're academic affiliations. St. Joe's Candler, Phoebe Putney, Floyd Medical Center Atrium, and Hamilton Health in Dalton. And I know I'm forgetting some, and the CEO will probably call me, but those are the ones that just come quickly to mind. Very important. We have a very innovative medical education program, the 3+ program. We have a lot going on in research. We're growing in research. And importantly, we got a common EHR platform, which will really be a boon to doing clinical research. We have to, big step to improve the health of Georgia, and this ability of Wellstar to have a clinically integrated network, built on telehealth is a great opportunity that few other people have in the country. I think Matt and the MCG Center for Telehealth has done the best job I know of anywhere at merging educational research and clinical care via telehealth. So I want to thank these IT people because they could have made my life miserable, but they didn't. They went all to the right places. Thank you. They're all back there. They do a great job, and thank you very much. And so we ended at 12:58. We started at 12:02, and I want to thank you all for all you do. If somebody wants to ask a question, we can take a few, but nobody has to stick around. If you want to leave, you can leave. But I'm welcome. If anybody has any questions or anything wasn't clear, I'll answer it. Or I'll ask Natasha or Mike Brantz to answer it, or Dr. Kaur if it's a research question at the Cancer Center. So.